my yarny friends, I'm Sara Sach. Welcome back to my crochet channel. Now today's video is our August coffee cup of the month. And just in case you don't know what we're doing, at the beginning of the year 2025, we did a graph of the word home. And as you saw in those pictures, you can do it with a pillow, or you can do it with a wall hanging, or whatever you would like to make. The graph, of course, was a free Ravelry download. The pattern is a free Ravelry download. And all of the cups each month are also a free Ravelry download for you. All right, so January, February, March, April, May, June, and July. And today is August 1st, so we're doing an iced coffee cup. Isn't this cute? It even has a little straw. I just thought it was super fitting because August is one of the hottest months of the year, especially here in Oklahoma. All right, so we're going to be doing the iced coffee today. All right, so you can find the patterns in the playlist called Home Crochet Along, and we're just calling it home because that's the word that we put on our pillow and our wall hanging. You could also make this into a front door hanger, whatever you want to do with it. Okay, and all the pattern links for the videos, of course, are in that YouTube playlist, and I'll put that link underneath this video, as well as the pattern for today's coffee cup. There's a written pattern with pictures, and I'll put that link underneath this video. And you'll also be able to find that playlist link as well. And in that playlist link, it's called, like I said, Home Crochet Along 2025. You'll find all the videos for all the cups and for the home graph and pattern. Okay, and then if you want the written pattern for each of these, each pattern, I've put that link underneath each video. And then also that link will lead you to a link where you can find it on Ravelry. Or you can just go to Ravelry.com, put in coffee mug magnet or coffee cup magnet, and you can find them that way as well. But I did add all of the links for all of the cups we've done so far on that blog page. I just want you to be able to find it if you want it. Like I said, there's a written pattern with pictures on my blog. There's a free Ravelry download on Ravelry.com, of course, and also all the videos here on YouTube. I wanted to make it free and fun for you. All right, so we're going to need a few supplies. We're going to need some magnets. You can go and buy some magnets. I purchased these at the Dollar Tree. There were 12 circles, so that's one for each month. Or you can just take them off things. I do this all the time. I use notepads. I take the magnets off and I save them for other projects. Okay, you're going to need an H hook, which is a 5mm crochet hook. And these are knitting stitch holders, and I use these to attach it onto my pillow or my hanger, and I'll show you that towards the end of the video. You're going to need a needle for weaving in ends. You're going to need some yarn, and this yarn is all medium weight, number 4 yarn. And I did this one with this darker color, but I'm going to do the demo today with the lighter color just because the darker brown's a little bit hard to see, and I kind of want to see how the lighter color looks on our app. I think it'd be cool. Okay, you're going to need some cream, and this is a cream that we're using for the 2 ice cubes because we want it to look like it's sitting in the coffee, and so we didn't do them white, but you can if you want to. And then, of course, I've got this lighter sort of a off-white cream that we did for the glass of our cup. Okay, because this isn't iced coffee, it's not in a mug. And you just need a small amount of each. You can see that. Now, as far as the straw, I use just a regular straw. We're going to cut it down and then cut it in half and then glue it on. All right. Now the other thing you're going to need, of course, is scissors. And then the sticky felt we're using to put on the backs of our appliques. You'll just set it on there, cut around, and stick it to the back. And I'll show you how to do that. Okay, the sticky felt is 99 cents. I've seen it as high as $1.59, depending on where you buy it. It is a peel and stick felt. It has a peel and stick on the back. You just peel it off and stick it right on. It works great. And I like to use this because it stiffens up the applique and stiffens up the magnet and just helps it hold its shape real well. Okay? This is an option. You don't have to use it. Now, if you are unable to find the sticky felt, you can use regular felt and just glue it on the back as well. But I love the sticky felt. It holds perfectly, and I just really love using it, just again because it helps it hold its shape and gives it a little more stability. All right, so I think I've told you everything that we need. Let's get started. So we're going to begin with the main color of our coffee. On this one here, I did a darker brown, but I'm using a lighter brown here. That way you can see it a little bit better. All right. This will be iced coffee that we added a little too much milk to. All righty. So we're going to start with our slip knot, and we're going to chain 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right, now we're going to turn our work here, and we're going to go in the second chain from the hook and stitch a single crochet, and then we'll stitch a single crochet in those next 4 stitches. And chain 1. All right, so we chained 6. We started in the second chain from the hook, and we stitched 1 in each, so we have 5 single crochets for row 1. Let's do row 2. So we've chained 1, we're going to turn. We're going to stitch 2 single crochets in this first single crochet. So 1 and 2, then we'll stitch 1 in the next 3. 1, 2, 3 single crochets, and then we'll stitch 2 single crochets in the last stitch. 1 and 2, and chain 1. And so now we stitch 2 in the first, 1 in the next 3, and 2 in the last. So that gives us 7 single crochets for row 2. All right, let's do row 3. We've chained 1. We're going to turn our work, and we're just going to stitch 1 single crochet in those 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. 7 single crochets, chain 1. Now on the next row, we're going to be adding our cream color for our ice cubes. So I'm going to get this out and have that ready because we're going to be switching colors in the row. Now we're ready for row 4. I've got my ice cube color here ready to go. So we've chained 1. We're going to turn our work. We're going to single crochet in the first 3 single crochets. 1, 2. But on our third one, we're going to go in, pull up our loop, but we're not going to finish it. We're going to bring in our new color and finish it. All right? Let string out of the way. Now what we're going to do is we're going to stitch 2 in our ice cube color. So we're going to go in. We're stitching over, let me move that tail so you can see, over our coffee color. And then we'll stitch 1 more, but we're not going to finish the second one. We're going to bring our coffee color back in. We're going to drop our ice cube color, but don't cut it off, okay? We're going to leave it there and then stitch single crochets in the last 2 stitches. And chain 1. All right, so this is how row 4 should look. You have 3 complete single crochets, 2 in our cream color for our ice cube, and 2 for our last 2 for the rest of our coffee. All right, that still gives you 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 stitches. Only 2 of them are in our ice cube color. And that's the way the row 4 should look. Now what we're going to do for row 5 is we're going to do what we just did, only in reverse, because we chained 1. We're going to turn our work, and here's how the back should look. We're going to stitch a single crochet in the first 2. 1, 2. Let's bring our string, our yarn to the back. Let's finish with our ice cube color. Now we're going to stitch over that yarn and stitch 1. Then we'll stitch the second one. Pull that string of yarn to the back. Finish your second single crochet. And then we'll stitch 3 single crochets. 1, 2, 3, and chain 1. You want to make sure that you pull your strings to the back of your work, okay? And you'll know the back of your work because this is where we pulled in our second color. The first time we pulled in the second color. All right, let's turn it over. This is how it should look on the front. We're going to leave our ice cube color attached because we're going to be doing a second ice cube in a minute or 2. Now for row 6, we're just going to do the 7 stitches in our coffee color. All right, so we'll just make sure we don't grab that yarn, just let it hang for our ice cube color. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, and chain 1. All right, so now we have 1 ice cube made. All right, so we did 1 single crochet in each of our color 1 for row 6, and now we've chained 1. We're going to turn our work, and we're just going to repeat that and stitch 1 single crochet in each of our single crochets across. Chain 1, here's our back, and turn, here's the front. All right, now on row 8, we're going to add our second ice cube. All right, now we're ready for row 8, and we're going to add our second ice cube. All right, so we chained 1, we turned, we're going to single crochet in the first 2. 1 and 2, and again, we're going to pull up that yarn from the back and finish that second single crochet. We're going to stitch 2 with our second color. 1, 2. We'll finish with our first color. Let that drop and stitch 1 single crochet in the next 3. 1, 2, 3. We'll chain 1 and turn. Now for row 9, we're going to be increasing a little bit at the top. And so what we're going to do is we're going to place 2 single crochets in that first stitch. So 1, 2, and then we'll stitch 1, and then we'll start the next one, pull our yarn to the back, grab our color 2, and we'll stitch our 2 colors. I'm almost out of yarn here. Let's see if I'm going to play yarn chicken on this one. 1. Nope, I've got enough. Alrighty, so we'll finish that one. We'll stitch 1 in the next, and then in our last stitch, we're going to stitch 2 single crochets. All right, so chain 1 and turn to the front. So now this gives it a little bit of flare at the top of our glass. Okay, and so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 single crochets with 2 to finish off our second ice cube. So now for row 10, we're just going to stitch 1 single crochet in each of those 9 single crochets. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. All right, we're not going to chain 1 because I'm going to be changing colors there, but you can see how the top of that cup flares out a little bit. All right, so we've completed row 10. I've cut my yarn. We have 9 single crochets. We're going to bring in our third color, which is this lighter cream color, more like an eggshell white. You could use a regular white also if you wanted to. Chain 1 and turn, and we're going to stitch 1 single crochet in each of those 9. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. Chain 1 and turn. All right, and so now we're doing the edging that looks like our glass that's holding our iced coffee. So now on row 12, we're going to work around in order to give it a nice look that it's sitting in a glass. Okay, so we chained 1. We're going to single crochet in each of these single crochets across, which again, that's 9. Alrighty. Now I like to chain 1 here, so make a chain 1, and now we're going to work down the side. Now here's where we joined, and what I like to do when I have an edge that's joined is I do what I call a stay knot. It just keeps it from unraveling, okay? Alright, and now we're going to weave over that a little bit, and then we'll come back in and weave that in. I mean stitch over it. Alright, so we're going to go right in the side of our single crochet, and we're just going to work down the side of our cup. And like I said, I'm going to be stitching over those tails of yarn just for a little bit, and then we'll come back in with our needle and weave those in nicely. All right, so I did a couple of stitches. I'm going to move those out of my way and just continue to work down evenly down the side of my glass or cup for my iced coffee. Alrighty, I'm to the bottom here. Now we're just going to move around and stitch across the bottom. Move that string out of the way. One more we need to weave in. And then we'll just work right up this other side. And so we're just going to go ahead and evenly single crochet all the way back up to the top where we started. We stitched across the top, we chained 1, then we stitched all the way around our glass or our cup. Then I chained 1 at the end there. And now what we're going to do is we're going to go across the top and make it look like it has that lid that comes on them sometimes. And so what we're going to do is we're going to go in this first single crochet and we're going to stitch 2 single crochets. 1 and 2. And then we'll stitch 1 in each across. Whoop, get in there. And when we get to that last one, we're going to stitch 2 single crochets. 1 and 2. And that's just going to give us a little bit of a lip on each side so that it looks like the lid of the cup. All right, so now we're just going to cut this. We're going to tie off into that next loop and pull that to the back. And then I have a bunch of weaving in to do. So I'm going to grab my needle and I'm going to start weaving in all these ends, and then I'll show you how to cut and add your straw. Now I have tidied up the back. I've worked in all of my ends, but I forgot. I do want to show you how to add the felty back first, because it's easier to put the felty back on now than when we're trying to add the straw and then working with that, okay? So you're going to take your felt that looks like this, lay it on there, cut around it, and then cut in, I should say draw around it and then cut it smaller. That way it doesn't show up on the edges. See, this one I've already done. Covers all of those edges. Okay, so here's our cup. I've already made a cut for the back. And you know, you want to make sure that you get those edges out and it's going to fit nicely. It doesn't have to be perfect. It just needs to cover up the back, and also, like I said, it helps it stay much, much sturdier. All right, and then you just peel that back off. And I like to make sure I'm not too high up because I want to have room to pin this on to my wall hanging, okay? It's super sticky. It is going to stay put, I'm telling you. I have never had one of these when I used this sticky back come off. All right, so now you can see that makes a much sturdier coffee cup. Here's the two of them. All right, so the next thing you want to do is add your straw. But before we do that, I do want to talk to you a little bit about the magnet. We have the circle magnets. You can put one on. I'm going to do it on this one because I want this one to be the magnet that is on the refrigerator. All right, and I like to use a lot of glue on this. I make a nice big circle, and I've already got my glue gun ready here. I make a big circle, and then I take that magnet and I just squish it down in there. And I want it to make sure that some of the edges come up. That's going to help hold that magnet on there. If you're going to pin it on, I like to use these, and I want to have enough room at the top so that I can put this here and pin it onto my pillow or my wall hanging. Okay, so this one has the magnet, this one is the applique. All right, I'm going to move my glue gun out of the way. We're going to need it in just a second. Got glue on my finger. All right, let me move that one so it can dry, and we're going to add the straw. Now, what you want to do is you will need a tape measure, and we want the bendy end up, and we're going to measure 4 inches. Okay, it doesn't have to be perfect. We'll save this for making bracelets and things with my granddaughters. There's my 4 inches. All right, then we're going to cut the top just a little. And again, the length of your straw is totally up to you. All right, now we're going to open this up and we're going to cut. And I've got my small scissors for this. All right, now we'll turn it this way. All right, so now I have a little straw that I can put in my cup. Okay, this one's a little bit shorter. You can see this one came down a little bit farther. Actually, I think I'm going to cut that one. That one's a little long. There we go. Alrighty, and it doesn't matter the color. I just picked a couple that were a little bit colorful so I could have a little extra color. All right, so what you're going to do to get this on there, I'll move that one out of the way there, is you don't want to put a lot of glue. You want to put a dot up here. And if you don't want to use hot glue, you can use fabric glue or some other kind of glue. And then I just put a little dot right here by that ice cube. And I'm going to blow on it just a little. Almost lost my straw because we're gluing plastic on, okay? And you want to make sure that you turn it downward. And just tap that down and tap that down. And I just held it for a minute. Let me get my finger off there. And any strings that were made, you just clip those off so they're not showing. Okay, and then let that dry. All right, that one didn't get into the glue as much as I wanted it to. So I'm going to add just a little bit more. It's just, you have to be really careful because you're using a plastic straw. Okay? And we don't want our glue to show through. If you're worried about using the hot glue, there we go. Like I said, sometimes I'll use this. This is a fabric glue. It works great on yarn and gluing things on yarn. The only difference is this is going to take a little bit longer to dry. That's all. But just set it aside and let it dry. Okay? Alrighty. Put my things away there. So I've got 2 coffee cups. This one's more like a cappuccino, isn't it? There we go. Dark roast, medium roast. I just love them. They're so cute. All right, so this can be, you know, a cup of iced tea, cup of iced coffee. And the truth is, you could make these in any color, and they could be Kool-Aid or lemonade, whatever you want to do. They're just super cute, fun to make. Iced coffee magnet and applique.